Um, so here we are going to see how the modes of material nature act, how they bind us, and how to get free of that. Yes. Next chapter. Next slide. So verses 1 to 9, Krishna gives knowledge of the three modes. You know, even before Arjuna could ask anything, Krishna is directly speaking. He is giving the knowledge of the three modes, and fixing one's knowledge on this can liberate us. How Krishna impregnates the total material substance with living entities, and material nature consists of the three modes, how the modes condition us. All this we're going to see. Next slide. Knowing this, one can get perfection. Actually, Krishna calls this even more confidential knowledge, because he said the most confidential knowledge was in the 9th chapter, the devotional service, of pure devotional service of the Lord. But here, he's calling this particular knowledge very, very confidential, because knowing this, we can get all perfection, be fixed in transcendental knowledge, attain a spiritual form equal in quality with Krishna's, and be engaged in devotional service eternally in the spiritual world full of variety. So actually, many people think that because there's so much material variety, spiritual life must be without any variety, just, you know, just light, you just exist. So, but it's not like that. Spiritual world is full of variety, and everything, because material life is a perverted reflection of that. So all much more variety is there, but it's all in spiritual this thing, quality. So Krishna says in 14.1 and 2, the Supreme Personality of God, it said, again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. So we will not take another birth, will not be created again, will not be born at the time of creation or at the time of dissolution. Again, we go into the body of Mahavishnu, stay in a dormant state, and again come. All that will not happen, but we'll get his transcendental form and go back to Godhead. Okay, next. So, material substance or Mahatattva or Brahman, that is what it is. I mean, the total material substance, that is before it becomes differentiated, and then you have these universe and so many planets and other things which are manifest. Before that, everything was just a kind of a Mahatattva, which is eternally existing and which is in the body of the Lord. So he manifested it, and it is called Brahman also, and it contains the three modes. That is what manifests universes when impregnated by the Lord's glance. So when the Lord's glance falls on the material energy, then it is Durga, who is material energy, who combines with Shiva. At that, through the glances, Lord Shiva coming and uniting with Durga, and then you have all the living entities being sent through that from Krishna's glance, and also within the material energy is agitated, and so the by the three modes of material nature become manifest, and then everything is the whole universe manifests itself. So, and then we, the living entities, receive different bodies according to our karma. So it's not that again we start afresh with a fresh karma. All those old karmas are there with us, and while we are living in the being in the dormant stage, then again we are woken up, and the Lord impregnates us within this universe, then again we start from wherever we left off. Krishna says, the total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth. And it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. Okay, next slide. Then Krishna is saying that in this material energy, so because he is the one who is putting all the souls into it, and he says, I am the seed giving father, and material nature is the mother. So example of scorpion and her eggs. Now scorpion, she lays her eggs in the mound of rice, a big drum of rice, then or a big, they store in a big granary, in the villages. So the scorpion goes there and lays her eggs there, very comfortable, very cooling, and away from the heat and all that, and it's very protected. So she lays. So when this eggs hatch and the scorpions come out of the rice, now you can think that the rice is giving birth to the scorpion, but actually it is the seed was given by or the egg was laid by the scorpion. So in the same way, Krishna is the one who is sending all the living entities into the universe. So he is the seed giving father, but material nature provides us with the bodies. So we mistake that, everything is just material nature and she's creating everyone, all these things. But actually, the seed giving father is Krishna. Okay. And so because we have become attached to this material world, it conditions us to the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And we will see in detail about how this affects us. Yes. Next. Next slide. So the living entity, although transcendental, is captivated by the three modes. That is the, perplexity, because the soul is actually transcendental. And how, when it comes into the material world, it identifies with the three modes. It's very captivated, and so then it acquires this body and it starts identifying with it. Despite wanting independent enjoyment, is subjected to strict control by the modes of material nature. So even though we take these material bodies, we don't want to be subjected to any laws. Actually, if we had a choice, we don't want to follow these karma rules and all that, sins and, but we are subjected to strict control, whether we like it or not. Karma acts. Some people may say, I don't believe in karma, but it is there. The law is there, whether you believe or not. Criminal cannot blame the judge for his jail sentence. So we cannot say that, oh, why did Krishna put me in this material world? Why did he do that? So it is just like blaming the judge. We asked for it. We didn't want to serve Krishna. And we thought, let us try it out. What is that material world? Let me go and see. So Krishna is giving us the opportunity, and an opportunity to purify ourselves so that we can achieve our original quality and go back to him. Just like the criminals are also, try to be reformed in the jail, and if they show very good behavior, they are released. And of course, after their jail sentence anyway, but provided they really improve themselves. Misuse of our independence to choose Krishna's service. That is the reason why we have come to this material world. Krishna gives us complete independence. You choose whether you want to serve me or not. Because what is the use of forcing one and saying, no, this is, you have to serve me because that's only good for you. Then we'll resent it. Everyone wants freedom. So Krishna gives complete freedom. And that freedom we misused. And we thought, okay, let me see how it is not to serve Krishna. And false ego, a reflection of our true consciousness within matter. So as soon as we come to this material world, we get a false ego. What is the real ego of the soul? Being a servant of Krishna. And here we get a body and we identify with that because of this false ego. And that is a reflection of our true consciousness. That ego is there. But here, that ego manifests itself as matter. I'm identifying with this matter and my ego now is this body. Based on that false ego, the ingredients of our gross and subtle body manifest. So whatever I'm identifying with, based on my karma and all that. So in the same way, our gross and subtle body manifest. Body is controlled by specific combinations of modes. So the modes of material nature are very, very, very intricate. It starts with 3 modes, but then depending upon which is more, which is less, so a permutation and a combination. So 3 into 3, 3 different types, right? In one can be more of goodness, less of passion and ignorance, and then like that. I mean, 3 into 3 becomes 9, and then that 9 again. When again different mixtures, just like combination of colors. Okay, the goodness is represented by yellow, and then passion with red, and ignorance with blue. So when you combine these colors, you have unlimited shades. So in the same way, because of our, we are controlled by this material energy, so many combinations, less of passion, more of goodness, this, it all depends. Different people have got different combinations. Naturally become attracted to exploiting particular combinations of matter. That means we are attached to certain things in the material world. So this is all happening. We have to see that it's all only the body, which is, we identify, we think I'm this kind of a person, I'm a great philosopher, or I'm a teacher, or I'm a doctor, or I'm something. All these are actually the modes acting on us. And the modes are naturally attracted to particular combinations of matter. Okay, next slide. So now, mode of goodness is purer than others. And because in this, there is no, this thing, sinful reactions are not there, very less. So it is purer. And it is wiser than the others. Why? Because it is not based so much on, it is more based on spiritual understanding, more knowledge. So it is wiser than the others, not affected by material miseries, because it is more advanced in spiritual understanding. So, and also the all the work and everything, qualities, activities are in the mode of goodness. So there is no material misery. And also because when you're in the mode of goodness, your life also becomes better. You're more, you have more knowledge, and then you are able to get some nice material position, money, everything more easily. So there are not so many miseries for a person in the mode of goodness, free from sinful reactions, advancement in material knowledge also. Goodness, automatically you also become more, you can also acquire more material knowledge. And so, but what is the disadvantage? It conditions one to happiness, satisfaction, knowledge, and feeling of superiority to others. Okay, happiness because you are not plagued by any sinful reactions so much. So you're quite happy. Nothing is troubling you so much. Your satisfaction, that is mode of goodness. Mode of goodness is not so greedy. So he's satisfied. There's not this deep distress of a mode of passion. Person is always dissatisfied. He wants more and more. That is not there. So he has got satisfaction, and he has knowledge also, and feeling. So because of this, what happens? He is attached to all this, and he starts feeling superior to others, because those who don't have this knowledge, and those who are doing all foolish things or being distressed, so he feels I'm in a better position. Yeah. Next slide. Passion, symptomized by attraction between the sexes. So, there is a lot of this we can see in those places where, a lot of mode of passion is there. Then there is a lot of activity for between men and women, going out together and enjoying themselves. Unlimited desires and longings. How many things every day they have to go to different places to enjoy. You know, when I had been to, this place was that, I think in Europe, yeah, Belgium, and even the France and all that, what they do in the evening times, on the weekdays, after they come from work, all the people, all the couples, so many couples, they just go to these bars which are on the roads, and then all so many tables and chairs are there, and they just sit and keep sipping, alcohol, drinking that. That's what, they don't know what else to do. It's a weekday, and weekends maybe they'll go out for a vacation. I mean, somewhere else, like they may go to a farmhouse or take off somewhere, go on a vacation. But here, weekdays, what do you do? So they don't know what to do. They come and drink. So that's what, unlimited desires and longings, bound to fruitive activity. Because if you have a lot of desires and longings, then you have to work hard for that. And so you work so that for money. Money, money, money. Nothing is sweeter than money, sweeter than honey. So modern society advanced in this mode of passion, right? Here, this is what is considered success. If somebody works very hard, makes a lot of money, and is enjoying himself, people think, oh, this is very good. This is the highest standard. But previously, the standard of advancement was the mode of goodness. People valued people in the mode of goodness, those who had values, those who were righteous, those who spoke the truth, and those who didn't cheat people, and and who were Brahminical. That was given. That was the standard of life, and now it is completely in the mode of passion. Okay, next. Mode of ignorance or darkness. Living entities are deluded, cannot understand things properly. The whole world will be thinking in one way, and they will have their own, very limited thing, just based, I mean, completely deluded, mad, cannot understand things properly. Conditions one to madness, laziness, and sleep. Always dejected and addicted to intoxicants. So this is mode of ignorance. And so that is why when you see that it is just the modes acting on people, we don't condemn anyone. Someone is doing like this, addicted to intoxicants, lazy, and cannot understand things properly, and is not at all interested in spiritual life. They would rather, they don't work even though they can. All these things are in the mode of ignorance. It is just the mode acting on them. Okay. Yes. How the modes keep us grounded to material life. Goodness, it is satisfied with his work and intellectual pursuit. Example of a philosopher, scientist, or educator. Also priests and sages. Too self-satisfied to follow dictations of the super soul. So what is wrong? We may think, if someone is good, it's good. Why should you say that they are conditioned? Because they are so self-satisfied, they don't want to follow the dictations of the super soul. Because what Krishna says, something is sometimes is transcendental, even above mode of goodness. And they don't want to surrender to Krishna. They like their independence. And they're identifying, because they're very happy and satisfied. They think, see, I'm not greedy like other people. I'm very satisfied with my work, and I'm very happy. So they continue like that. Passion, he owns as much as he can and spends on good causes like hospitals, charity institutions, etc. And desires speak too loudly, and so he cannot hear the voice of the super soul. All his mind is full of these desires. I want to do this and that. And so there is, that is what is completely controlling him. He cannot hear the voice of the Paramatma at all. And ignorance covers our knowledge. Whatever one does is neither good for him nor anyone. Too inert, ignorant, and mad and mad, so he can't hear the super soul. So in this way, these modes, they prevent us from surrendering to the Paramatma. 14.9. Yeah, okay. Yes, go to the next slide. So what are these three modes? They are like ropes. Rope, we saw in the previous this thing that rope is the guna means also rope, and just like ropes are made by intertwining different strands of thread. So in the same way, these we are completely bound by these gunas, which are like the primary colors, as I said, red, blue, and yellow, and they affect every aspect of our lives. This is completely because our body is made up of these three modes, combinations, and they also affect our character, behavior, approach to life, and impact us at various levels, physical, mental, and emotional. So if we understand this, we will not condemn or become too excited about somebody's this thing, because this is just an effect of the modes of material nature. And we will see that the real person is something different from these modes which are affecting them. But we can also see why people are behaving in a particular way. Yes. Okay, so we've categorized different based on 14.11, 12, and 13. Okay, there is activity, that is the books, work, different aspects of his activities, and then what are they? How is a person in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance in that? So if you consider books, a person in goodness, for example, maybe reading something like motivational biographies, something very inspiring, something that elevates him. Mode of passion will be reading thriller novels and science fiction. Okay, something grounded on this material world and just giving some nice sensations. Ignorance, objectionable websites. We know how people are addicted to that. So those are in the mode of ignorance. Then work. Goodness is attracted to teaching, or even scientists, philosopher, all these people. Passion, money is honey. Whatever gives money is fine. They're ready to work. And in ignorance, alcoholic, drug addicts. They don't go to work when they do that. And the time of the day, goodness is from 4 a.m. till noon. That is why we say Brahma Muhurta and all spiritual activities we should do in the morning, because morning time is in the mode of goodness. And all passionate work starts from noon till night, till late evening. So noon till 8 p.m. is passion. And ignorance is 8 p.m. till 4 a.m. All the night activities happen in ignorance. And that is why in today's world, the nightlife is what people like. They love to go out and stroll. Though, of course, now more and more, because of all the violence and all things which used to happen because of that, now the government has clamped that. But otherwise, how much people love to be awake in the night. And even if they're at home, they don't go to bed before 2 o'clock or more, even later maybe. And that is when all the people in the mode of ignorance are awake. Who are all of them? The ghosts and the spirits, all these ghostly bodies, they're all awake in the night. All these criminals, thieves, they also work in the night. And then if we also work, stay awake, we'll have very good company with all these people. So that is why it's very bad to stay awake like that. It's best to retire to bed early and okay, at least by 10 p.m., if not 8 p.m., but and that is a mode of ignorance. And the music, a mode of goodness likes classical or soft music. Passion, you have jazz, rock, pop, all that. And ignorance is shouting and screaming, some so-called music. and the places. Suppose you have to go on just where you want to spend your time. The mode of goodness will like to go to a park or a forest. And passion is crazy city life, right? Just enjoy, go to the theaters and restaurants and bars and disco and all this, or a casino. So that, and then, oh, sorry, crazy city life. Okay, not so bad like pubs and nightclub. That is for ignorance. Crazy city life meaning just going out and, just being on the, some people love to be on the streets. Simply, I mean, they just like, they go to the malls, right? Just hang around there. And so they like that mode of passion. And those in the ignorance, they like drinking and nightclub. Okay. Then food. In goodness, you like wholesome, juicy vegetarian food. That's very good for the health and everything. It makes you feel happy. There's no. And then passion is spicy, sour, hot, pungent. All these are liked by those who are in the mode of passion. And ignorance, untouchable, rotten, decaying food. Actually, some people do like that, and mostly it also denotes all, food that is meat that is frozen and kept. It's rotten, decaying food. That is loved by those in the mode of ignorance. State of mind. Mode of goodness gives on happiness and it gives knowledge. Passion makes us very agitated always and greedy, never satisfied in mode of passion. And mode of ignorance, lazy, dull, very reluctant to make spiritual advancement. These are the qualities. Okay. So all these are mentioned in the 11th, 12th, and 13th verses. Okay. Lessons from the modes. So don't react when you notice you're in the lower mode. What is that? When you're angry, illusioned, envious, greedy, you should know all these thoughts which are coming are in the lower modes. So don't react, because whatever you do will be very bad, and you might commit some sins also, or you might hurt people. So don't react. And then you realize that, oh, this is a lower mode. Let me bring myself to the mode of goodness by using our intelligence to see it in a proper perspective, especially spiritual perspective. Then we can calm ourselves, and whatever we do will be good. And then it becomes, see, it is just a question of habit. Initially, maybe we have to really work on it. That, every time we get angry, we feel like just blasting. But then we use our intelligence. No. I know what happens. I'm not going to do that. And then you go. So it may take a lot of struggle to bring one back. Or if you're illusioned, just imagine something which is not true at all. And the natural tendency will be you're attached to that illusion and you want to work in that way. But then you say, no, this is not mode of goodness. Let me, chant Hare Krishna, read the Bhagavad Gita, or discuss with devotee friends, and then put myself in the proper perspective. Or if you're feeling envious of someone, you have to understand, why should I be envious? There's no need to be. Because this is, I've just by envy, there's no need to compare like that. Everyone is unique, right? Somebody has a good time. They are going through good time. They've had bad times also. I've had good times, bad times, whatever. Why, it is silly or ridiculous to be envious. Or if you feel somebody has got something that you really want and they have it, you think, okay, they've done something to get it. They've pleased Krishna. And I've got an opportunity also to chant Hare Krishna, please Krishna, and whatever he wants, he can give me. So why I should be envious? So that intelligence comes in the mode of goodness. So if you feel any of these emotions, greedy, oh, why can't I have more? They're having this, then you should know this is not me really. This is my mode, which is going for that. So no, I'm not going to. Why should I be greedy? Be satisfied. That's not going to give me happiness. So in this way, we have to control our thoughts. And do not fight over insignificant things. Sometimes, for nothing. I mean, when you analyze later, you think, why did we fight? For insignificant things, you're being controlled by the lower modes. Would not matter at all in a few days. You think, oh, why did I go and fight with them? Actually, it's not even important. And then you lose the relationships, you've lost your peace of mind. So many things. So many marriages are breaking up nowadays. If you go and actually see, sometimes, of course, it is something very big because of extramarital affairs or something like that. But other than that, many times it's simply some false ego. That's the cause of all this thing. Actually, it starts with false ego. Mostly it's false ego, which, pride, too much of pride, mode of passion. And so you want to dominate over the other. And if you cannot, then you feel frustrated and you think, I'm walking out. So it all starts with that. And that leads to extramarital affairs mostly, because you feel I'm dissatisfied with my marriage. So I find somebody else who's, not so, because you're not all the time living with them. So they might be more, they don't know all your inner natures, and they might be very nice and flattering. And then you think, okay, better than my partner. And then you have a relationship. So, it's all like that because of insignificant things. All these starts, it's false ego. And that false ego manifests in differences in small things. I like this, I want to see this channel, and the other one says, no, I want to see this channel. And then they fight. Oh no, why? Or I want to go here, or I want to invest in this. And then the other person, then we have differences of opinion. Finished, we can't live together. So these are all, what does it matter? I mean, small things you give and take, right? It is one who is a little more intelligent in the mode of goodness will not mind these things. In the higher mode, you don't fight over petty things. So if we catch ourselves having these lower modes, then we should analyze and see, no, I'm not going to react now because I'm acting on the lower mode. Be aware that the super soul is witnessing all your reactions. That's another thing. If you're always aware that wherever we are, maybe nobody is watching, but Krishna is always there as Paramatma, always. Then if we are aware of the Paramatma, we'll feel ashamed to think of negative thoughts. Because Paramatma is watching. What will he think of me? Okay, next slide. So now verses 10 to 18, characteristics and manifestation of the modes, and death in the three modes, and results of actions in the three modes. Okay, next slide. So Krishna says that there is constant competition for supremacy among the modes. Because sometimes the mode of goodness wants to be predominant, defeating passion and ignorance. Sometimes, the same person can witness that sometimes his mode of passion becomes strong and then it defeats the other two modes. Like say, he wants to go to the temple, but his desire to go out with his friends, and enjoy in the mall or something, that takes over. Mode of passion then defeats goodness. No need to go. Oh, it's okay, later I'll go. So like that sometimes. Or mode of ignorance is competing. They'll say, oh, don't go anywhere, just sleep now. So like that, there's constant competition for supremacy among the modes at different times of the day in different activities. Same person can exhibit different modes. It's not that always somebody is acting in only one mode. By determination and practice, one can develop goodness. So first we have to raise our mode from passion and ignorance to goodness. And then transcend goodness, and in pure goodness, understand the science of God. So that's what Krishna says. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. So sign of Bharata. Sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance. And at other times, ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. So, but we can see how once we come to goodness, and then we can, if you transcend it, then you will not be affected by any of these modes. Okay, next. Now it talks about death. What happens if someone dies in the mode of goodness? So in the mode of goodness, it leads to higher planets. The topmost highest planet is Brahmaloka, where very, very elevated sages and all are there, highly advanced in mode of goodness, and devotees, they live there. And of course, there are other Swarga, Swargaloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. So if according to the level of goodness we have developed, we'll go to these higher planets. Swargaloka is more of passion and also goodness, but a lot of passion also is there. That's why they are enjoying themselves in Swargaloka. But in these higher planetary systems, they are more, prone to self-realization. Great sages live. Death in the mode of passion leads to birth on earth. And death in the mode of ignorance to hellish life and animal kingdom. Hellish life means also hellish planets which are below the earth, and where it is complete darkness. There is no sun also. Sun doesn't reach those planets, and only the light is coming from the Nagas, hoods of the Nagas, whatever jewels are there. So it's quite dark, and so that is mode of ignorance, and that's why they're not at all interested in spiritual elevation. They're mostly asuras, and or animal kingdom. Within this earth, you can be. It doesn't mean that once you're a human being, you won't become an animal. If our consciousness becomes like an animal in the mode of ignorance, then Krishna will say, why you need a human body? You better to take an animal body that you can enjoy your mode of ignorance more. So that's what happens. While staying in this body, one is preparing for the next. So make responsible choices. So we are constantly, suppose your next house is decided by how much money you save. Okay, then the better, the more that you don't indulge yourself and you don't take waste your money, then you can get a better house, right? So people save. Of course, nowadays everyone just takes loans, but previously it was not like that. Culture was you save the money and then you buy the house. So so something like that. We are making our next body based on now. So we have to make responsible choices. Yes. So you see how the mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness. Goodness is in the picture, it says you're welcoming spiritual person to your house. Mode of passion is just enjoying a dance with women. And mode of ignorance is just eating some pig meat. Okay. Yes, next. So then Krishna says, the result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. So people who are in the mode of goodness only do pious activities. What are pious activities? That are good for, material good we do for people, giving in charity, or, building some, nice wells, or, something that will benefit mankind, or you give annadan. All these are pious activities. And they give pure results. And what is that pure results? You accumulate. I mean, it only gives you good returns, happiness and elevation to higher planets and so on. Actions in passion give misery. Why? Because always there is stress. Oh, how people who are involved in all these businesses or even in their jobs, how much stress? Because there's always, dissatisfied, and always there is uncertainty whether plans will go according to how you want. So there is misery, or too much endeavor, and naturally your health also suffers, and so on. Action in ignorance results in foolishness. So for foolishness, the one thing of foolishness is that you know that, so many people are dying. You are also going to die, and your children are also going to die. Then why you are sitting and accumulating like this madness? How much corrupt people are? How much their greed is just unlimited. They want to, I don't know for how many generations they want to accumulate. That's foolish. Nobody is going to live here permanently. What is the need to accumulate beyond this thing, and at the cost of all your, I mean, no intelligence to think that you have to pay for all this. So that is foolishness. Animal slaughter progressing towards the of darkest ignorance. People don't even realize that by killing animals and eating, it is really, really, even now it gives all bad health and all pandemics and everything. Apart from that, you have to, nature's law is very severe. You have to also take body of the animal and then be killed. And there is always a law of retribution. Karma is very strong. Okay, next slide. So process of Krishna consciousness educates one to goodness. So that is why, how do you come to the level of goodness? Because say I'm in the mode of ignorance. Now, how can I be elevated? It's very difficult, right? Okay, because if I'm in the mode of ignorance, I don't even feel like associating with one in goodness. Those we always associate with like-minded people, those who are in the same mood like us. So there is no chance how you can elevate your consciousness. So only Krishna consciousness can easily, it elevates us to goodness. And for happiness and prosperity, all happiness and prosperity occurs when we come to the mode of goodness. And Prabhupada says, even a percentage of people, small percentage, if they are elevated, then peace and prosperity will be there all over the world. So mode of passion cannot give satisfaction and peace. Okay, we may say, oh, mode of passion is very good. See how the economy is flourishing and we have so many industries and we have so much wealth being created. But are people satisfied and happy? We're seeing more and more crime, more suicides, all that happening. And what are you talking about? I mean, why are you heading in this? You should stop and think, why I'm not getting this? I'm working so hard. But all the time we're just, first of all, health is suffering. More hospitals are not even enough. In spite of building so many hospitals, they're not even enough. People are falling ill like anything. And mentally also, people are suffering. How many psychology clinics have come up in the recent past? So that cannot. But if everyone is elevated to goodness through the process of Krishna consciousness, then even a percentage of people, not the whole population, may not be possible, then peace and prosperity will be there all over the world. This is the only way. Yes. Next. So from goodness, real knowledge develops. So we get, if we are acting in the mode of goodness, then more and more we get spiritual knowledge and we get elevated to understanding who we are, who's God, and so on. From passion, greed develops. We're never satisfied. We get something and we think, oh, imagine, I want to be happy. I want to get more of it. And so in this way, we become greedy. And from ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion. Can't think rightly at all. We aspire for the wrong things, and we just can't see things in the proper perspective. First of all, there is no spiritual awareness at all. It's completely in the body consciousness. And so that is why they are completely illusioned. Whatever decisions they think are also foolish. Just, spending your money on all trivial things, which are, finished in no time at all, for those sort of things. Actually, previously in India, the culture was always that people spent on only really valuable things, not just, just splurging like that. It was not a culture. But now, because more and more society is in the mode of passion and ignorance, People want to have, if they want to have a wedding, then we want it like a, what is that? What is a destination wedding? And splurge money in that. And how have you got all that money? Through all lies, deceit, corruption, cheating, making other people unhappy. You earned that, and then you want to splurge. Oh, all this is all in the ignorance, foolishness. Okay, yes. Next. So different degrees of goodness in higher planetary system. Lord Brahma's planet, topmost, can be achieved through goodness. Passion keeps us on earthly planets, can be rich or a king in the mode of passion, and can go down due to mixtures, because we're not purely in the mode of passion also. So it'll always be mixed with good ignorance also, and due to that, we can get influenced and chance of becoming mad in the next life, because this madness is a symptom of ignorance. Yes, next. So you see how the picture, you see the consciousness, how it changes. Karanam guna sangasya. Everything is because of association with the modes. So you keep eating animals like the tiger, then you also get slowly become, your consciousness becomes like a tiger, and then you get a tiger's body. Mode of ignorance drives one to hellish planets below the earthly planets. Different levels of ignorance lead to birth in animal kingdom. There is 8 million species of animals, birds, insects. So we can, a mode of ignorance, we can get any of those. 8 million species in the animal world, unnatural. So we might think, what happened to unnatural deaths? Keeps you in a ghostly body till your term in that body is finished. And so suicide is not an option for ending misery. Now, what people are in the mode of ignorance and passion, and whenever they feel, oh, things are not going the way I want, then they think, okay, finish off the misery, just kill yourself. That's not a solution, because you're going to be hanging around like a ghost, and you want to enjoy, but you can't. Only your mind is there, no body to enjoy it with. So that's greater misery. Okay. Yes. Next slide. So 20 to 27. One can transcend the modes by knowing that everything within this world takes place under the 3 modes. And understanding that Krishna's activities are transcendental to the 3 modes. Undeviating devotional service leads to the level of Brahman. And what are the symptoms of a transcendentalist and behavior of a transcendentalist? And bhakti, the method of transcending the 3 modes. Yes, next slide. First step, what we should do for transcending the modes. First step is to observe the modes influencing us. We have to be aware, this is not me. I am not a person. We sometimes typecast people, oh, he's an angry person, he is this. He is not that person. It is the modes which are influencing. So for ourselves, we observe, okay, right now, what mode is affecting me? Understand that the modes and not us that are active, because the body is a machine, and the body is driven by these 3 modes, and you are separate from that. We are separate both from our everyday activities and the modes, because the activities are also, again, modes are controlling and making us act in a particular way. Second step is to understand Krishna's is transcendental position. So when we understand that Krishna is above these modes, so when we associate with Krishna, then we also develop his quality and we can transcend the mode. A man in Krishna consciousness is not affected by the modes. Krishna says, when one properly sees that in all activities, no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. Okay, next slide. He becomes free from the miseries of birth, death, and old age and disease. Because this is all connected with the body. And when we identify with the soul and we are blissful in spiritual happiness, we don't get all these miseries. I mean, no more birth again. And death is also not so troublesome, like for a person in the modes. And at the modes, you think you're the body, and there is so much pain and suffering and dying. But for a spiritual person, he knows I'm eternal. I'm not going to, and he's thinking of Krishna, and he'll go back to Godhead. And old age also does not trouble him because he's not identifying with the body. Soul is always young, enjoys life on the spiritual platform. Now, Arjuna is asking three questions. What are the symptoms of one who has transcended the modes? What is his behavior? Is it regulated or whimsical? Because in the mode of ignorance, people are whimsical. Someday I'll feel like doing very nicely. I'll do my job. Another day, no, I don't. Today I'm not in a mood. So, but that is whimsical behavior. But how is a transcendentalist? By what practices can one transcend? Okay. Next. Symptoms perceived by one self. So, by one in transcendent, one who is transcendental. What are the symptoms? Neutral to attachment and detachment. Because attachment and sometimes it's all according to the three modes, right? Too much attachment, okay, it may be there, but he's not disturbed by that. Neither he wants to, he's not. Wait, I'll read the. The Supreme Personality of God, it says, O son of Pandu, he who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear. So we have all these modes are acting on us. So sometimes we are very illuminated. I mean, we have knowledge and all that. Sometimes we are attached, and there is some delusion also. So we're not affected by that when they are present, and we're not longing that. When they disappear, we're not hankering for that. So we're just accepting things as they are, just seeing as it is, and we're not disturbed by that. That is a symptom of this thing, of a transcendental person who is unwavering and undisturbed. So, okay, free from, I'll read this later, free from hankering and envy. Okay, a transcendental person is not asking for more and more things. He's satisfied whatever comes, because what you really need is what is required. Most of the time we want some things which are not even needed. And then unwavering and undisturbed. Why? Because we're not disturbed by things, because we know the modes are only acting and I'm not part of this. He is fixed in his consciousness, equal in happiness and distress, fame and infamy, because of getting a superior happiness within. So external happiness and distress are just, it comes and goes, not really disturbing him. Or fame. Fame and infamy does not bother him. One in transcendental consciousness, he doesn't care whether people praise me or don't praise me, this body. I'm not this body, so it's okay. But whereas on a material level, one who's attached wants, likes that, oh, everyone should honor me and glorify me, and everyone should know me, and so on. And then he is equal to stone and gold, because material objects are not a source of happiness. They are there and they use it for whatever is required. He's not attached to any of them. Treats alike both friend and enemy. Because, again, these are just, you view them as souls. And so, okay, those are very nice. I mean, to everyone, you want to give them you want to act with them on the level of transcendental awareness about Krishna, what is good for our spiritual life, and so on. So even for one's enemy, a transcendently situated person wants to give them that knowledge, because we're not these bodies, and renounced all material activities, materialistic activities, which are no good. Whatever is required for you, yes, you need a job, okay. And then whatever you need to do to maintain yourself with your family and so on, but not all materialistic activities which are deviating one from spiritual life. Okay, next. So, process to transcend the modes. Engage in transcendental relationship with Krishna. Engage in unfailing devotional service, free from the mood of an enjoyer. So, devotional service means we are giving happiness to Krishna, not demanding from him. I also, okay, I'll give you some and then I want to keep back something. Okay, that is fine. In the beginning, it's like that. But once we understand, actually, my happiness comes only when I give service to Krishna, only when I'm completely engaged in making him happy. That is what really makes me happy. That is our original nature. But now, because of identifying with the body, we are thinking that whatever the body demands from us, the modes of material nature, then that will make me happy. We are convinced of this. That's why we don't want to serve, but we want to be an enjoyer. But by following Guru's instructions and acting on that, we attain the level of Brahman. 14.26. This is a very important verse. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Okay, next. Next slide. So, bhakti perfects the knowledge of a jnani, because a jnani only comes to the level of impersonal Brahman. And then if he comes to the path of bhakti, then his knowledge becomes complete. Karmi and jnani have to come to bhakti for higher consciousness. Krishna is the source of also the impersonal Brahman. Krishna says in the last verse, I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So, very clearly, Krishna is saying that from me only impersonal Brahman is also coming. And bhakti is eternal. Surrendering to Krishna can at once help us surmount the modes. So, this is the only way we can overcome our modes and act on the spiritual platform. But even by doing bhakti, first we elevate ourselves from mode of ignorance to passion, from passion to goodness. Then we can transcend and come to the transcendental platform. Okay, next. Krishna is the source of Brahman. That's what I want to read that verse in Sanskrit. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya amritya vyayasyascha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukasyaikantikasyya cha. So he's saying, I am the origin of the impersonal Brahman. Brahman is immortal, imperishable, eternal, and source of ultimate happiness. And impersonalists too worship Krishna to merge into Brahman. Even if they have to go merge into Brahman, they have to, unless they worship the Lord, they're not going to get that. But pure devotional service takes off from the Brahman platform. If you're doing, because we're not attached to the material modes. And in that platform, we can do exactly what Krishna wants. And that is pure devotional service. Next slide. Devotional service is simple. What is that? Chant Hare Krishna, Mahamantra, associate with devotees, eat Krishna Prasadam, smell the flowers offered to his lotus feet. Yes, next. Next slide. Hear and read Krishna's glorious pastimes and teachings. Visit his pastime places, temples, and also Leela Stalas, holy dhams. engage in some service for the Lord, and observing fasting days on the appearance and disappearance days of the Lord and devotees. And of course, today is Ekadashi also, fasting for that. Yes, next. We had Janmashtami just now. And so all these things help us to engage, in devotional service and transcend the modes. So this is the summary. Krishna describes the knowledge of the three modes, how they act, how they bind, and how they give liberation to the spiritual world, full of variety. Supreme Lord impregnates the living entities into the Mahatattva. Characteristics and manifestations of the three modes we saw, death in the modes, result of action in the three modes, how to transcend the three modes, symptoms and behavior of a transcendental person. Bhakti is the method of transcending the three modes. Important verses is 14.18, 14.26 and 14.27. Okay, next slide. So they will do this very important verse. Mam cha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaityan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Mam cha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Mam cha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So devotional service is very purifying, very perfect, that simply by engaging all these activities which were mentioned, then we can elevate ourselves to this consciousness. Okay, next slide. Okay, this verse by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wrote personally only the Sikshashtakam comprising of 8 verses. Otherwise, all the entire philosophy that he has given us, he made his disciples write. So this is composed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. And the first verse of that shloka is Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamaha Dhavagni Nirpavapanam. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandambudivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life. So we saw what is this conditioning us, the material modes. So if we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, he says it takes away all the dust of this conditional life and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. So all that is put to an end by the Sankirtanas. Krishna. The Sankirtana movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon, just like the moonlight is giving us very cooling light, very refreshing. Like that, the rays of the Sankirtana, it spreads on us like that. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. So it's very difficult for us to understand what is this transcendental knowledge. But the Sankirtana, by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you can understand this. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss Anandambudhi Vardhanam Pratipadam. And it enables us to fully taste the nectar. Purna Amrita Swadanam. Full nectar. It helps us to taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. Sarvatma Snapanam. We're always anxious for tasting that. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. That is all glories to Krishna Sankirtanam. So we see this is what is going to bring about a revolution, a big change where people are going to elevate their consciousness. And this is the purpose of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is the Yuga avatar or the avatar for this age. And he has brought the Sankirtana, chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And he's our Supreme Father. And he's telling us this is what is going to give us all happiness. So we must take this up very seriously. Yes, next slide. Thank you very much. Okay, Hare Krishna. Let me see what. Oh, okay. There have been no questions. So, any questions now?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Mataji, one question I have is that so many nice qualities that we talk about, curbing our anger and trying to live simple, not hanker for money. In spite of having on a platform of knowledge, those looks very wonderful to achieve, but in reality we fail to achieve them in spite of some of we put some effort, but still somehow we are caught up in this wind and we still get lost. So how do we have that confidence that one day we'll achieve that?
See, you have to, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is what will elevate us. So, because mantra is Krishna, he's thrown this rope to us, hold on to that. And if we chant very sincerely every morning, that's why we have to give all attention and importance to chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Then what happens? We'll slowly develop a higher and higher taste. And every day you should feel a progress. Even if it's 1 inch, it's okay. But you're progressing. You should feel, yes, today I'm feeling a little better than yesterday. Today I'm feeling more, I've realized a little more. Like that, we have to make a determined effort to improve our consciousness. Then it will happen. That is, and this is the method. First chanting and reading the Bhagavad Gita and all that, and doing service to the Lord, serving Vaishnavas, developing humility, all that. It will happen. But chanting Hare Krishna is very important. Importance and quality, that is, we have to really hear the holy name and get more happiness out of it and surrender more. We have to beg the Lord, please help me in your service. From this enjoying mood, take me to a serving mood. That is the easy way through how chanting helps us to shift consciousness from enjoying mood to serving mood.
Correct.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Somebody asked, do we get this human birth only after 8 million births? No, not necessarily. It only means that there's so much variety there. One of the births where we are, which suits us, will be put in that. 8 million, 4 lakh. That's how many varieties are there. 4 lakh are human, human kind of living entities. 8 million are the other species. So we don't have to go through all 8 million. But we have come through evolution from the lower species. Yes. I'm a little bit confused. We read a lot about autobiographies of successful people like Abdul Kalam, Sachin, etc. They all say that due to their mode of passion, they're doing so great in their respective fields. Are they also bound by mode of passion? Yes, certainly. What has happened to Abdul Kalam now? We don't know what body he has gone to. Certainly not maybe to the spiritual world, but he's taken another birth. He's done a lot of good, of course, to people. He's done a lot of pious activities. So maybe he's in one of the higher planetary systems. But mode of goodness also, oh, okay. But you're saying that they all said due to their mode of passion. So maybe they are in the earthly planet. Sachin, of course, is still here, but I mean, this is what it's so temporary, and you can get degraded because passion will also have some. See, maybe there are some things sometimes he did due to rivalry or something. He might have committed some mistakes by which he'll have to suffer in his next life. Now it seems his life is so like a, he's born with a golden spoon kind of thing. He's really happy, but it's very temporary. We don't know in his next birth where he'll go to. So what's the point? Humble with everyone is also not good because they will misuse it. So how to handle with that? Yeah, humility doesn't mean that you keep on. Humility first should be internal. That we internally we surrender to Krishna and understand that I'm his servant. That is real humility. Then we will be able to act exactly what we should do to different types of people. And also this humility, this expression of humility can be done only with people who understand, who value that quality. Now you go and tell outside, where you're working or any other social people, you go and tell them, I'm the most fallen, I'm the servant of the servant and all that. They laugh at you and they'll say, okay, come, you're a servant, come, you be my servant. So they will ridicule. So humility is first of all internal to the Supreme Lord and to the Vaishnavas, to the Guru, because it is a spiritual humility. Naturally, outside world, they don't value, but internally we are always humble because we have to, in connection with the Lord. If we want the Lord always with us, we have to be humble internally. So that is what, if we are humble internally, we will know how to act always, with whom to say what. Naturally, we don't go and tell others, in the outside world, we say, I'm the most fallen person, and so on. We put ourselves down, they'll be very happy to crush you more. But definitely, or if somebody's behaving, actually, Narad Muni gave a very good, valuable instruction to a snake. A snake became, Narada Muni preaches to all living entities. So he preached to a snake also. And he said, now stop being a snake and don't bite people and so on. He became a devotee, the snake. So it stopped biting people. Then Narada Muni, after some time, went to check how his disciple snake was doing. And he found that the snake was totally battered, very weak, and hanging his head, drooping his face. So he said, what happened to you? He said, see, now I'm not biting anyone. So all these people around, they're throwing stones at me and really, they're troubling me. What do I do? So Narada Muni said, oh, then you don't bite them, but you hiss at them. When they come near, you pretend as if you're going to bite them. Then they'll go away. So we have to be careful, and we have to take care. We can't act like that, humble always. If somebody is trying to harm us, then definitely we have to. Keeping quiet is in the mode of goodness. Mode of ignorance, not goodness. We have to assert ourselves also.
Mataji.
Yeah.
Mataji, a person normally, you see, one person is more in goodness, one person is more in passion, one person is in mode of ignorance. we see different varieties of people. So this is all dependent on previous janmas karma, Mataji, or is it it is because of now, I mean, our
Both,
activities, or
both. See, a previous janma is what we are originally born with, but by association with modes also, we can change the modes. For example, even if you're born, say somebody is born in ignorance, but then they have very nice people as friends, some more, or relatives or something. Or he has very good teachers, or like that, some association of good mode, then he can elevate himself. So that is, it's not a permanent thing.
and
Karanam
what
gunasamtasya. So association is very, very important. That's why we need to keep good company. Then we are automatically, our mode is also improve. Isn't it? They say, you show me your friend and I'll tell you what kind of a person you are. Why? Because association affects us.
yes, ma'am. And I would
Hare
like
Krishna
to
Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Dhanavad Pranam.
Yeah.
This is Vinay Neta Das from Hyderabad.
Yes. Oh, Hare Krishna.
Mataji, see, we are in Krishna consciousness, that is fine. But the position of other communities, like, Christians or Muslims, what is their position, Mataji, actually? How their life, future life will be affected? Is there any difference? They are also, go to churches and other things. They believe their God and other things, they do something. But what is the difference in the next life that will affect them? Is like us, or is a different scenario will be there? Hare Krishna.
See, those religions are also, different religions are also meant for different modes of people. So you see, in Christianity, it's a lot to do with, happiness in this material world. Of course, they say you pray to Jesus and then you'll get everything. You'll get good, nice, this thing, whatever. God will take care of you materially, of your good health, good money, good family, all these things. And then at the end of life, you'll go to the heavenly planets to enjoy. So this is mode of passion. Okay. But at least there is some faith in God and all that. Then the other religion is for those who are, it is a mode of ignorance, meant for people in the mode of ignorance. Because how did it originate? The kind of people that it was spoken to is what I mean. They were the shepherds and goat herds, and they were, the kind of instruction given to them was, thou shall not sleep with your brothers and sisters and your neighbors. I mean, this is the kind of level of, so that is meant for people in the mode of ignorance. But by following that, they can also be elevated. Prabhupada said that those who follow exactly like what Islam says, doing prayers 4-5 times a day and following Ramzan and all these things, then they will get promotion to, say, Maharloka or Janaloka, one of the higher planetary systems. Is that clear? Okay, what is that? Somebody asked some.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Yeah,
Krishna Das Mataji. So Mataji, this mode of passion, goodness and ignorance can be within a person, because sometimes we see our day, like say morning we do the Mangal Aarti and all. And then when we go to work or we come to a difficult situation, then we kind of go down, or if any forceful, quarrelsome situation comes, then we sometimes don't know how to deal with it and we get entrapped to that. Right. So how do we ensure that we kind of maintain the mode of goodness all the time? Because it looks like sometimes there is a competition within a person also on three things. Sometimes mode of goodness is dominant, sometimes passion is dominant, sometimes ignorance is dominant. But how do we ensure that, even though we know, like we have to chant attentively as you recommended, but still sometimes that does not happen?
See, if you start your day in a nice spiritual atmosphere, Normally it will stay for the next 24 hours. If you do proper worship, Mangalarti, chanting, read the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita also if possible, whatever, at least something you hear, then you have got the vaccination for not to be affected by the modes so much, and for the next 24 hours that will give you some power to maintain that. But in spite of that, because of the association, you're constantly contacting people with different modes and all that, we have to become aware. That's what we have to be aware is. Suppose you become very irritable or angry or something, or feeling low, whatever, then you should think, oh, why am I feeling like this? Which mode is acting on me? So let me bring myself to mode of goodness. Then you just read Bhagavad Gita, it will elevate you. Immediately it takes you, transports you to a different world altogether. Because the whole world is acting like we are the body. And once you read the Bhagavad Gita, oh, I'm not this body, then, okay, I'm not going to be affected by the modes. We have to become aware what mode is affecting me, and then you give it up and try to act in the mode of goodness. And of course, chanting is always there. If you're feeling very down, then take the beads and chant, and you'll feel, refreshed. And your mind will become more calm and peaceful, isn't it? Or you talk to some devotee who is in the mode of goodness, that also can help you.
Yeah. Sometimes you forget, Mataji, like if some situation comes which is unpleasing, and then that time we forget all those things, what we learn, and we, listen from all senior devotees and like Guru, like you. But we sometimes forget those things, saying that, how we need to come out of it. And we get entrapped in that particular time. So, yeah.
Yeah, through constant practice, we can elevate.
Sure, Mataji. Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.
What is Brahman? Is it Brahma Jyoti? Yes, Brahma Jyoti is Brahman. That is Brahman, because it's the quality of the spirit. Brahma Jyoti is
Brahma Jyoti is super soul, Mataji? Super soul?
No. Brahma Jyoti is the Jyoti coming out of the super soul from Krishna, the light.
Oh.
We have to
Hare
always.
Krishna, Mataji.
Yes.
I'm Krishna from Veluru, Andhra Pradesh. Mataji, what we are experiencing, the karma, which is the result of our previous birth, that we say. So even in the previous birth, we were the human beings or somewhat some other animals. If the karma is just result of our previous birth, if we were in the animal form, animal birth or some other birth, that did we commit any sin? Only result of that we are experiencing now.
See,
the karma.
animal birth, there is no karma at all, because the animals are completely controlled by material energy, by Krishna. They don't have any independence. We have a karma because we can make choices. Animals don't have that capacity to make choices. So everything is controlled. So there is no karma at all. From animal kingdom we are coming, there is no karma. Only in human birth, because we have a choice and we make wrong choices, we have to suffer. So if we are suffering, and that any reactions are only from human births.
Okay, Mataji, in the sense that even it may be the previous birth before the human birth, or some janmas before.
Yeah, some janmas in human forms. In the animal birth, there is no karma.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji.
Automatically, you keep getting promoted in the animal birth.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
How do we maintain our Krishna consciousness when we have to indulge in so many relations where expectations are never ending? And so, Mataji, we have to always try to hear, listen, and speak of Lord Krishna. Yes, 1 minute. I'll answer that, the question. First, we have to always try to hear, listen, and speak of Lord Krishna. Yes, when we are with devotees and all that, and also even at work, when we are doing work, our consciousness should be that I'm doing this for Krishna's pleasure. I'm doing it all so that Krishna should be happy with my work. So if we do it in that mood, then we won't, we'll always remember him. Otherwise, we can forget him and then we get into these moods. Remembering, correct, very good question, that remembrance of Krishna helps us to overcome the moods. Yes. And how do we maintain our Krishna consciousness when we have to indulge in so many with relations where expectations are never ending? So we have to see, once we have to be determined that I want to make progress, and I'm not going to be, see, instead of we being influenced by what they are saying, you should become strong by association with devotees, and you set the standards that they'll get influenced by you. You know, so that is what we have to first become strong for that. Otherwise, we think, oh, what will others say? And why? We are doing the best thing. Why should we feel ashamed of that? Never-ending expectations. Yes, something or the other they expect you to do for them, and so on. Are you not talking of that?
Yes.
So you have.
I'm talking about these things where sometimes mother says, mother and children, everybody feels that we are treating everyone as equal. We are treating them nicely only, but the question is the personal feeling about that relation is not there. Sometimes they complain about it. So maybe when time is so crucial, how do we actually engage in every person's life and handle our work? And plus, this feels a little heavy when it comes to engaging myself with everyone.
With the family members, you should keep aside some time in the day. Just like you have time for everything, you've set time, right? That this time I go to work and for so long I stay there and come back. Like that. For your family also, you set aside a particular time of the day, or this much time is for family every day. You must give. You can't neglect that, because then they'll feel happy, quality time. And in that time, if you can also do Sankirtan with them, then they'll feel so satisfied. They'll not complain, because that is what makes everyone so happy. Everyone is connected to the Paramatma. And so then everyone becomes satisfied. So Sankirtan is very, very good way of bonding also. Even without much talk, you'll feel all connected and bonded up. So you should do that. And apart from that, you set aside some time. Okay, when we are having meals together, or doing Sankirtan should be one of the activity, whatever it is. Yeah, sometime you must give.
So sometimes one of the family members might not be interested in Sankirtan. So how do I mean, I get distracted by such situations. So I don't know, how do we engage everyone into the same
Yeah, that
thing?
is true. They may not. So what you do is just play this music in the house, because there's so much to download. You have unlimited Hare Krishna tunes based on what they like. If they like classical type, or they like modern type, whatever, you have innumerable. So you play that and they will all hear. Okay. So
that's a good idea, Mataji. Yeah, thank you.
And also make it a point, because that is also part of our duty to give, because family means relationships and they should not feel neglected. So sometime with you're married, right?
Yes, Mataji.
So for your spouse also, at least even 10-15 minutes, you should inquire, how was your day, what happened, and you ask the other person also, and you share. This is very important for Grihastha life, for building good relations. Sometimes we just take them for granted, and then, these small things can make a big difference.
Mataji. Okay, Mataji. Thank you. I'll do these things, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay. I think, all right, we finished all the questions. Okay. We'll stop now then. Hare Krishna. We'll meet again tomorrow for the 15th chapter on the yoga of the Supreme Person. Yes. Thank you.
ఒక్క నిమిషం
Pranam Mataji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.